Following a diving excursion to Kaikoura, not far from Kaiapoi, the radio went off again, and later the inside lights. In darkness and heavy rain, it was too unsafe to continue on to Methven. One of the students' parents lived in Kaiapoi, and we stayed at the house overnight as a mechanic was called in. The bus was juiced up, so it could start and we headed home, minus electrics. The following day, I pulled over at Dan's house. We simultaneously looked up to see the roof racks had skimmed and possibly damaged the branches of a tree overhanging his property and the footpath. The garage worker shook his head. He's got to start hiring mechanical minds. I was given a wry smile, but remained silent and circumspect, not sure how to respond. "What's the problem?" he said. "Same thing as last time. Stereo kept turning off, inner lights dimmed, and then all electricity gone." "Waiting for spark plugs?" "Every time I turn the engine, I wait for the symbol to disappear." Dan bit down on the upper index finger knuckle of his right hand. "Give me the keys, I'll have a look." He turned and headed for the front door. "Thanks a lot. See you later." "Yep." The bus went without hassle over the next few weeks. Winter was coming and I'd need to master the Mount Hutt Road. I took the students on the bus before the mountain opened and didn't realize the road was closed. As my chainless tires lost traction, I slid into a ditch. Stu got out and observed from behind the bus. He gave the thumb down sign as I tried to switch between reverse and first gear, managing my revs in an attempt to move the vehicle. The Mount Hutt manager pulled it over in a company car. "What were you doing up here? Didn't you see the road was closed?" The students watched as I was scolded. I began to sweat, and my ability to think stalled. The manager supplied me with a shovel, and Stu helped me dig earth from the trench so the tire could find traction. I failed to move the bus out. A couple more Mount Hutt staff cars pulled over. The manager shook his head and requested I move from the driver's seat. In a matter of minutes, he maneuvered the bus out and I drove the students back to their accommodation in silence. On one of my days off, I settled on the couch with a book. "Why are you always at home?" Lara asked. "Why am I always at home?" "Well, what I mean is, when you're not scheduled to work, why are you about the house and town? You have a car. Have you considered exploring?" I had no one to explore with and no extra cash. Mitch and I are doing things. These are our days off. I'm not here on weekends, so you have the house to yourself. Don't get me wrong, but you potter about doing work when you're not paid. I'm saying this with best intentions. It'd be good for your health and mine. I took a 10-kilometer forest walk and contemplated winter. I needed a driver to prepare me for my 3 weekly runs up and down Mount Hutt. Lara claimed there wasn't money in the budget to spend on training. I had my license, and it was up to me to be proactive, she said. I argued that if safety and responsibility was so important, I'd need the supervision on trial drives, that no other driver would be employed without having earlier assistance up the hazardous Mount Hutt Road. With little time before season's opening, I took the drive with Chris, an old friend, prior to taking the students up. On my first day with passengers, I drove with Mark, a local barman and retired Hutt bus driver. On our descent, we heard a crash as a black tire ran over a solid object. One of 2 batteries gave way before being crushed. I left the bus and carried the battery inside before continuing down the hill. "This is a cursed bus," I said to Mark. Dan the mechanic once again gave a surly response as he took the vehicle into his workshop. I'm telling you, he's got to get experienced drivers. Earlier in the year, I made an announcement to the students. You're the clients, therefore you're the DJs. I didn't know that meant Stu was going to select aggressive drum and bass New Zealand outfit Concord Dawn and their 2003 album Uprising. During transition in the lower car park, this album was played without fail. Stu and another student could assist me putting chains on the bus tires as I drove forwards and backwards to tighten them. The opening track, Morning Light, built up slowly with a repeated lyric, "Please don't cry," before getting fast and heavy. Crying was what I felt like doing. The rocky, slippery, crowded road, the excited teenagers, the cursed bus and intense drum and bass saw me stressed, nervous, and almost ill every time I climbed the hill. Throughout winter, there were no more mechanical issues with the bus. Other bus drivers smoked cigarettes, played cards, and drank coffee from their thermoses, while customers skied. I'd be snowboarding until it was time to take the students down, each descent as stressful as the ascent. I'd return to the bus and warm it up for 15 minutes before departing. The clouds of black smoke that sputtered from the exhaust were unappealing to skiers. One August morning, I heard a knock on the window and wound it down. "What do you think you're doing?" a middle-aged skier asked me. "I'm waiting for my students." "That's not what I mean. What I mean is, what are you doing up here in this bus chugging out all that black shit?" I was too beat for confrontation, too worn out to explain to the concerned citizen I was about to face the lesser of my two potential daily panic attacks in descent. "I'm only the driver." He peered at the coarse advertising on the side of the bus. "You're not only the driver. You're representing a local business, an outdoor one, and you're chugging out all that poisonous, toxic shit. I should complain to your boss about you. Who answers if I call that number? You? Me or one of my co-workers? I'm reporting you to your employer. This is disgraceful. How do I contact your boss?" "Send an email." He continued talking at me, so I wound the window up. "This is not on," he said, entering the back of the vehicle. "The difference between you and me is you want to kill this country. I want to save it. I'm writing down your number plate. I'm reporting you." I heard students nattering as I took a glimpse in the side mirror. A figure climbed a ladder on the back while others passed their skis and poles. Footsteps made their way on the roof towards the front and a head poked its way down on the passenger side. "Fucking wicked, man," Stu said from his upside-down position. He locked eyes with a stranger on the back of the bus, but didn't ask. Instead, he again climbed on the roof and continued to stack gear as a second pack of students arrived. With teenagers entering the bus, the stranger in the back decided to depart. "You haven't seen the last of me," he called out from 10 meters away, pointing a finger. "This is a disgrace. I won't let you get away with it." "I'm only the driver," I said. There's a segment on the Mount Hutt Road named Shady Corner. It's a bend that gets little sun, meaning it's often iced over, and with larger vehicles requires careful maneuvering. Driving up one particularly cold morning, on approach to Shady Corner, I noticed a car pressed close up to the bank. Instead of putting chains on his tires at the Mount Hutt car park, the punter decided to secure grip at the dangerous point. The key to driving safely uphill is to keep the revs low. Feeling the bus slide, I had to accelerate, watch my revs, and ensure the man wasn't crushed. It was either crush the man or crash. As the tires lost traction and the bus slid towards him, A second distraction was the Mount Hutt staff bus coming down the hill. As all mountain drivers know, on thin patches of road, the vehicle descending always gives way to the one driving up. The staff driver had little time to halt his vehicle, but he managed to do so, which prevented a head-on collision. The eternal slide needed acceleration without over-revving, which certainly would have seen the man killed. The front of the bus was heading for the bank, and in my side mirror, I watched meters go to feet and then inches, perhaps centimeters, before the man was out of harm's way. I swung the steering wheel a hard right, which allowed the front to straighten as the back veered into the bank, causing a large chunk of ice to fall once the revs hit 3,500, and I proceeded to ascend. With Concord Dawn blasting drum and bass, only one student noticed. Carly, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, widened her eyes and bit her lip. There was no curse between man and machine at the most important of times. When people asked what's the scariest thing that happened to me in my life, it was that split second I avoided a sentencing of shame and guilt. The blood of one's life on my hands, or worse, the blood of all those on board. The crushed torso of a human sandwiched between a bus and car on the perilous shady corner. An accident waiting to happen, townsfolk would proclaim, no matter the report of any coroner. Should have hired experienced drivers. That day, I decided I no longer strove to make lifelong friends with the students. I wondered why I bullshitted myself and why I bullshitted them. I had no community to please, only customers to transport. Months passed. Lara and I now worked around each other. I stayed tidy and out of the house. Our live-in working relationship was doomed from the start. We conceded as long as the students were happy and we did our jobs, we needn't interact. October was kayaking month. I drove the bus and a trailer full of kayaks along Blackfoot Road into Double Hill Run Road. The radio quit. The electrics again. In the past, it had been a case of the sound system periodically turning off. Now it was dead. The speedometer lost its light. Mitch and Stu left the bus and checked the brake and reverse lights on the back of the trailer. They weren't working. I cursed at the bus. The kayak instructor with eagle eyebrows cursed at me. There was no phone coverage. I pulled over and walked 2 kilometers to a farmer's house. He insisted he ring the mechanic and not I. Dan's voice roused. Bloody useless kid, stupid. I ambled back to the bus, took my novel, wandered 100 meters along the gravel, licked my finger, and opened the book to page 39. On the final day of the course, I gave Lara an awkward hug and a good luck wish. Peter drove me from the lodge. Cheers to a great year, I said. I opened my beer and put the stubby to my lips. Peter glanced up at me. Please lower the bottle until we're out of town. In 2007, I joined Mitch at Stu's 21st birthday celebration in Christchurch. The much-loved youth was entering manhood, and good vibes were felt all around. I caught up with 2 students in 2009. Despite my efforts to email, without social media I lost touch with all. Living in Wellington, in 2013, on Marion Street, I bumped into a former student, Emma, riding her bike. We met for coffee twice and had brief but pleasant exchanges. I left Wellington and we lost contact. 2 weeks prior to Christmas 2015, Emma began her email preparing me for unfortunate news. Stu had been climbing Mount Cook, New Zealand's highest mountain, with friends. His ice pick came loose and he fell 200 meters to his death. It appeared Stu was not irresponsible, but a thrill seeker in the wrong place at the wrong time. He knew the risks and died doing what he loved. The mountains of New Zealand show no mercy. I wrote Emma, wished her well, and thanked her for passing on the uneasy news. Days later, I found myself furious with the other students for not delivering the information to me. Then I felt shame and realized the tragedy of it all, placing my palms over my face before regathering myself. If any of us deserved to live a long life serving others, it was Stu. He was the heart and soul of our 2004 group and took his love for adventure and exploration to the next level. But he was taken from us at 28 years old. Writing this in 2019, my legs are jellied and throat lumpy. The central figure to be remembered by 2004 OPC was a living Stu. He is now the central memory.